Toyota won 11 of the first 18 points-paying races of the 2026 season. That number sounds fabricated, but it is not. And right in the middle of that stretch, NASCAR quietly changed a piece of hardware most fans have never heard of: a strut on the front splitter. NASCAR never said Toyota broke a rule. Nobody was caught cheating, no team was named. And yet the timing lines up so perfectly that even people inside the garage cannot agree on what actually happened. Did NASCAR just quietly take Toyota's championship advantage away from them? Or is Toyota about to prove the advantage was never in the splitter at all? Before this video goes any further, here is a question worth sitting with. Do you think NASCAR should be allowed to change a technical rule in the middle of a season because one manufacturer is winning too much? Drop a yes or no in the comments, because the garage itself is just as split as you are about to be. Tyler Reddick alone won 5 of the first 9 Cup races. At Kansas, Toyota placed 4 drivers inside the top 5. Brad Keselowski flagged it publicly, not as a rival taking a shot, but as someone warning the sport. Keselowski said, "This didn't really get any media play but was a big deal, Mo." He was pointing at more than fast cars, an organizational structure where Toyota built unusual collaboration between its top teams, effectively fielding several elite programs instead of one dominant team surrounded by weaker ones. If the advantage is organizational rather than mechanical, no rule change can actually fix it. Keep that thought in mind, because it comes back. Before this story goes further, this channel, NASCAR Trackline TV, is closing in on 1,500 subscribers, and if you want every twist of this chase covered as it happens, hitting subscribe helps get us there. Now, back to the garage. Right before the race weekend at North Wilkesboro Speedway, NASCAR mandated that every team add extra struts to the front splitter assembly. NASCAR's official explanation was keeping the splitter from moving or deforming at speed, nothing more. No violation was cited, no penalty was issued, no team was named. But inside the garage, it was described very differently, as a change that would level the playing field between Toyota and its rivals, Ford and Chevrolet. Joey Logano put it plainly, "I don't know if it was designed just to help others. I think it was just to bring the field to where everyone was doing the same thing. There were cars that were more aggressive with that rule than others." End quote. Some teams were pushing the rule harder than others, and Toyota was clearly one of them. If you were a Toyota engineer who spent months finding this edge legally, how would you feel watching NASCAR erase it with a memo? Hold that thought, because that is exactly the argument that exploded next in the garage. Denny Hamlin became the emotional center of the controversy, the driver with the most to lose and the one willing to say what others would not. Hamlin said, "We live in a garage where if a team's not running well, they'll just go to NASCAR and complain about something and try to get the rules of it changed. But NASCAR's been doing that for many years. Certainly any advantage we had been earned." This was a challenge to NASCAR itself. When does a rule change protect fair competition, and when does it punish a team for being smarter than everyone else? This fight is not new. In the 1990s, Jack Roush and Ray Evernham lobbied NASCAR behind closed doors over similar disputes. What sharpens this version is the stakes. Hamlin enters the chase as the number 1 seed, with a 25-point cushion over Ryan Blaney, meaning the man arguing loudest against the rule change is also the man with the most riding on whether it worked. Do you believe Hamlin that this was an earned advantage NASCAR should not have touched? Or is he protecting something he knows went too far? Say so in the comments. Then the story escalated. Jonathan Hassler, crew chief of Team Penske's number 12 car, said what almost nobody else in the garage was willing to say out loud. Hassler said, "I definitely think they work in our favor. Just the shape of our nose is a little bit different, and that definitely helps level the playing field a little bit in our opinion." He went further. The rule, the additional splitter stays have been on every track since North Wilkesboro, so it's definitely, if you look at the results of the Fords, we've certainly been better. A crew chief had effectively confirmed, without naming Toyota, that his own team benefited from a change NASCAR insists was not targeted at anyone. At Indianapolis, Joey Logano was reportedly the fastest car late in the race but could not pass. Proof Ford's turnaround showed up on the stopwatch almost immediately. Around the garage, the theory floated is that the extra splitter stays were quietly closing the gap that defined the season, and observers have noted the timing lined up almost too perfectly with Ford's improved results. If you were a Toyota fan, would this Ford admission make you furious? Or does it just prove Toyota's advantage was bigger than one piece of hardware? Just when the mystery seemed solved, Toyota refused to collapse. They kept winning. Adam Stevens, crew chief for Christopher Bell, refused to concede anything had changed. Stevens said, "It's hard to say. We haven't really been to an intermediate, right?" On Bell's runs at New Hampshire, he added, "It doesn't feel a lot different to me right now. Short tracks are not proof of anything. The real test has not happened yet." Cliff Daniels, crew chief for Kyle Larson, offered a theory that undercuts the entire splitter narrative, that Toyota's advantage was never one part, but a season-long head start. Daniels said they've had their body for a while, and they've had their notebook for a while, and we kind of had to start again at ground zero. Maybe NASCAR only removed one small piece of a much bigger machine. Which theory do you believe? That the splitter was the secret weapon, or that Toyota's real advantage is something NASCAR cannot legislate away with a strut? The results since the rule change tell their own story. At North Wilkesboro, 4 of the top 6 finishers were Toyota. At Indianapolis, 4 of the top 5 were Toyota again. If the rule change was supposed to level the field, Toyota still looks like the fastest manufacturer on the sheet. The reaction across the garage has split into 2 camps. Some point to Toyota's speed at Indianapolis as proof the splitter theory never mattered much. Others note the field has genuinely looked closer over the last 2 weekends. Neither side has won the argument. Keselowski's warning that this was a big deal that got almost no media attention hits differently now that these results are on the table. Do the math yourselves in the comments. Based on the results so far, did NASCAR's fix actually work, or is Toyota simply too far ahead to catch? Nothing said so far actually proves anything yet. The splitter change has only been tested on short tracks: North Wilkesboro, Iowa, Richmond, New Hampshire, tracks where Ford has traditionally been strong anyway, change or no change. The real test is the stretch everyone in the garage keeps pointing to, the high-speed intermediate tracks like Las Vegas and Kansas, where aerodynamic efficiency and long-run balance actually decide races, and where Toyota has looked closest to untouchable all season. Hassler has expressed cautious optimism that the changes carry over to Penske's intermediate program, while Stevens refuses to say anything is settled yet. Hamlin still enters the chase as the number 1 seed with a 25-point cushion over Blaney, and Toyota still holds an enormous presence near the top of the championship picture, meaning if this rule change really worked, it has not shown up where it matters most yet. When the Cup Series reaches Vegas and Kansas, does Ford close the gap for real, or does Toyota prove once and for all that the splitter was never the whole story? Predict it in the comments below. NASCAR insists no rule was broken. Ford insists the change helped them. Toyota insists nothing has really changed. The only thing everyone in the garage agrees on is that nobody will know the truth until the chase reaches the tracks that matter. If Toyota's advantage really is organizational, the collaboration, the notebook, the body development that both Keselowski and Daniels pointed to, then NASCAR may have just proven it cannot legislate its way out of being out-engineered. The chase field has locked into place, the number 1 seed sits in a Toyota, and the sport heads into its biggest stretch of the year, with the question still completely open. If you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next. Drop your take in the comments, and share this with another NASCAR fan who needs to see how close this fight actually is.